Are you nearly ready? I'd like to get moving before the repair crew arrives so I don't have to explain so I don't have to explain. Good. And before we exit the ship, are those my clothes? No. That's fine. I do not mind. I did say to find something to wear, and I did not specify, so it's fine. It's just, well, I can't help but notice they fit you differently than they fit me. Because, well, I am built differently, because I am a different species, which, as I said, fine, but the collar sits a bit lower. There is, the neckline there is some skin showing. No, that is not a complaint. Humans have skin, after all. That is a normal human thing to... forget it. I'm making a neutral observation, that's all. You look good in my clothes. I will say so plainly so that I can stop saying it badly and in circles. That's all. Yes. Anyway... Here we are. Okay, stay close to me and keep your visor down, just to be safe. Even though the Bounty Hunters Guild has no official jurisdiction here, independent contractors occasionally pass through, and civilians follow the public listings for reward money more often than you'd think. Your bounty profile has been public for a few years now, and you have, and I say this also as a purely neutral observation, a very, very memorable face. So, yes, the visor. Yes, thank you. The repair crew will assess the ship by this evening, so we should have a timeline for repairs tomorrow. I'm cautiously optimistic. She held together fairly well. All things considered, which I am choosing to take as a vindication of my good judgment because I picked her out, and I have good taste. In ships! Good taste in ships! No, actually the previous ship, the one where you squeezed through the exhaust port of, which I'm still puzzling over, by the way. I did not pick that one myself. It belonged to my former partner. They ceded it to me after they retired. That is why the controls were rigged for a two-armed operator, the human standard configuration. My partner is human and fairly standard about it. 2 arms, skin, and the like. I could still pilot it. I made it work, but it was never comfortable. I suppose all of this to say, when you ruined the exhaust port and I had to sell her for scrap, I was not especially sorry to let her go. I mean, she was a good ship, but she was not my ship. To the end, she was still theirs. Yes, my former partner and I worked together for nearly 9 standard years. It ended in the way these things tend to end, more or less amicable, mutual, mostly. We had professional disagreements, though by the end I'm not sure how clearly those could be separated from the other kind. It's difficult to work that closely with someone for that long and keep things neatly categorized. We parted ways regardless. It was the right call, probably. I think we could both say so. I cannot ask them because, we don't talk anymore. Anyway, this ship I spec myself. She handles exactly as I need her to. Or did. Star burn it, I hope the repair crew knows what they're doing. Well, I promised you a drink, and it's best I deliver on that before I think too hard about the repair bill or my rising insurance premiums. Thankfully, ports like this one tend to be reasonably accommodated for mixed species traffic. I also took the liberty of scoping out the port registry a bit before we docked. Reviewed some things and some listings just in passing while I was looking up repair contractors. I found a place just off the main strip I thought I'd try. So, this way. You see? Just past the exchange booth. Left at the... Yes, there. Do you see the sign? The one with... I don't know what that is, actually. Some kind of life form. Regardless, that is the one. Good. Low light, not too busy. it should be safe for you to lift your visor to drink. Right, yeah. So the listing of this hollow menu are organized by planet of origin. If you look along the, yeah, you can filter it, I think, here. Human safe options should come up highlighted in, yeah, those right there. Yeah. Beyond that, I'm afraid you're on your own. I recognize perhaps 2 or 3 words on that entire list, and none of them are helpful in context. Sauce appeared several times. That's all I have for you. Oh, me? Well, my species is classified loosely as predatory xenoarthropods, so my diet is mostly insect, and specifically larvae based. I would tell you the names of my favorites, but none of them translate very well because our native tongue consists of chittering and vibrational frequencies. And most of those frequencies are sitting in ranges human ears do not register at all. The translator made an attempt, but it always ends up sounding more like some kind of respiratory event, so I'll spare you from that. It goes both ways. My mouth parts cannot naturally form human syllables either. The apparatus are simply not there. Human oral anatomy is quite singular in its way. I find it fascinating. The tongue, specifically, a free-moving muscular tendril used for articulation and gustation, and the entire oral cavity is wet, isn't it? It looks so very soft. Anyways, have you placed your order yet? Good choice, I think. I mean, I have no frame of reference, but you said it with confidence, so I'll trust your judgment. There, now we wait. I'm just going to check something. One moment. No, it's just my associate at the Bounty Hunters Guild has not responded yet to my inquiry about your fraudulent bounty listing. You know, the one I sent before we docked. That is not necessarily cause for concern just yet, but, well, she usually is more prompt. No use speculating, I suppose. Tell me something. Have you spent much time in places like this before? Ports like this one? I mean, French stations outside of standard jurisdiction. I don't imagine you would have. You worked at Interstellar Innovations, which is headquartered on, well, one of the luxury transformed planets in the new Andromeda system. I cannot remember which one you specifically... Yes, that one. I thought as much. You can usually tell. I don't mean that as an insult, of course. Just, you have a way about you. Ports like this were new to me once, too. I did not leave my home planet until I was, well, let's see. The conversation to standard years is not very intuitive, but I was young. Younger than is advisable, perhaps. But before that, I had spent my entire life up to that point on my homeworld. Not unusual for my species. We do not leave, generally. It's not a rule, necessarily, but it's rare all the same. Everything is regimented and self-contained. We live communally, not in what you would call cities, the way you are accustomed to. It's more of a continuous infrastructure, one large interconnected system, like a hive, I suppose, though many people find that term reductive. It's more like, well, imagine a city, but the city is also a living arrangement, like a massive dormitory where you also work, and it's all running through the same structure. Billions of occupants, all operating in different functions, feeding back into the whole. Yes, crowded. And we are actually not a particularly social species in the way humans are either. We did not evolve to seek companionship for its own sake as you did, but we are cooperative and eusocial, most for economic reasons. Some generation back, we arrived to the conclusion that pooling resources and operating collectively produce better outcomes than operating individually, which has worked out quite well. We have become significant players in the several interstellar markets. Well, I say we, but I have been off-world for so long. Not a very good representation of my species. My former partner came through on a contract. I was working maintenance on a transit hub at the time, which was adequate. Yeah. Nothing glamorous, but they needed someone who knew the area, and I was bored. And reasonably polite, after they caught their mark, they ended up offering me a longer-term arrangement working maintenance on their ship. The same job I already had in a different venue, more or less. I was meant to go back after a time. That was the understanding. Theirs and mine both, I think. But as more time went on, I became less of a temporary hand and more like established crew, then an apprentice, then a peer. I passed the guild entry examination on my second attempt, which I'm told is respectable. Ah, the drinks! How was your drink? And those bits of vegetation around the glass, are they purely for garnish or... Odd. Well, as long as you like it. You know, this is nice. It's been a long time since I... Oh, one moment. That could be my associate at the guild. That is. My bounty hunter's license has been suspended for misconduct, effective immediately? And the inquiry I filed into your bounty listing has been closed without investigation, which would require a senior guild officer to sign off on. Someone inside the guild closed that inquiry within hours of it being filed. A senior officer. Which means interstellar innovations may have reached within the upper levels of the guild. That is... Oh, stars burn it. We should get back to the ship. This complicates things considerably. Every contact I have that runs through the official guild channel is now a liability. I cannot use any of them without the risk of flagging our location. Whoever closed that inquiry knows I filed it, which means they know I have been communicating with you, which is not ideal. We will figure something out. I still have contacts outside the guild channels, fewer than I would like, but they exist. We are not entirely without options. The moment the ship is cleared for departure, we should leave. I listed this port in the inquiry I filed as my current docking location, so whoever closed that inquiry knows exactly where we are.